is taking place in hybrid format pursuant to the House of Order of June 23, 2022. Members are attending in person in the room and remotely using the Zoom application. I would like to make a few comments for the benefits of the witnesses and members. Please wait until I recognize you by name before speaking. For those participating by video conference, click on the microphone icon to activate your mic, and please mute yourself when you're not speaking. Interpretation for those on Zoom. You have the choice at the bottom of your screen of either floor, English, or French. And for those in the room, you can use your earpiece and select the desired channel. A reminder that all comments should be addressed through the chair. For members in the room, if you wish to speak, please raise your hand. For members on Zoom, please raise your hand function. The clerk and I will manage the speaking order as best as we can. In accordance with the committee's routine motion concerning connection tests for witnesses, I'm informing the committee that all witnesses appearing virtually have completed the required connection tests. Today, we're doing main estimates of 2023-2024. Pursuant to the Standing Order 81-4, the committee is commencing consideration of main estimates 2023-2024 with votes 1 and 5 under Department for Women and Gender Equality, referred to the committee on Wednesday, February the 15th of 2023. And I would like now to welcome our witnesses who will be speaking on this. We're honored to have the Honourable Marcy Ian here, the Minister for Women and Gender Equality and Youth, and with her are members from the Department for Women and Gender Equality. We have Frances McRae, who is the Deputy Minister, Gail Mitchell, who is the Assistant Deputy Minister, Department Programs and Operations, Stéphane Levine, Chief Financial Officer, Director General, Corporate Services, and online we have Crystal Garrett-Baird, who is the Director General, Gender-Based Violence. Minister, I am going to send the floor over to you for 5 minutes. You got 5 minutes, and you know me, when I start going crazy, it's time for you to wrap it up. Okay, Minister, 5 minutes.
Merci beaucoup, and thank you so much, Madam Chair, for the opportunity to discuss the main estimates of the Department of Women and Gender Equality Canada. Je veux prendre un moment.
I want to take a moment to highlight the excellent work that the members of this committee do and their important role in moving gender equality forward in Canada. I really appreciate all of your insights.
It's such an honor to meet with you today on the traditional and unceded territory of the Algonquin Anishinaabe people. Canadians deserve an equal opportunity to succeed, and there is a clear link between social, economic, prosperity, and gender equality. I'm here to speak about how Women and Gender Equality Canada's main estimates put that perspective into concrete action. Wages receiving $290 million via the main estimates, of which $225 million is in grants and contributions. This funding supports our work and, more importantly, will go toward equity-seeking organizations that help to drive systemic change. We've been tested these last few years, but we've seen who we are and what we're capable of as Canadians. The pandemic made clear where we have challenges and shone a light on who has been disproportionately impacted, who are our most vulnerable. It strengthened our resolve as to why we are in this work. It revealed opportunities. How do we build back better, stronger? How do we embrace what full inclusivity looks like? It reinforced the core of our most important policies and inspired the design of new ones. The truth is, dental care, rental affordability, child care, support and funding for women, girls, youth, and the 2S LGBTQI+ community are not just good policy, they are vital parts of a just and equal society. We are moving full speed ahead. Budget 2023 included $160 million for the women's program to organizations, grassroots organizations. We stepped up and provided $300 million in emergency funding to organizations across the country. This funding has reached more than 1,400 frontline organizations and helped more than 2 million people experiencing violence. It helped them to get the support they need. It helped them to find a safe place to stay, and it helped them to get out of unsafe situations. The work continues. Emergency funding was necessary to address real challenges, but never to lose sight of finding longer-term solutions, which is why our work with provinces and territories is so vital. We have worked to support crisis hotlines across the country. We've signed agreements with 9 provinces and territories for a total of $23.2 million. I want to highlight this because it's really important. Why? Because 24/7, 365 days a year, if women and children are fleeing violence, someone will answer the phone at any time of the day, any time of the year, and they'll hear their own language on the other side. These crisis hotlines will save lives. The 10-year National Action Plan to End Gender-Based Violence is a key partnership between our government and provinces and territories, specifically designed to stabilize the gender-based violence sector. We provided $500 million for the first 5 years to support provinces and territories in implementing it, and we're negotiating right now. We're at the table right now. These plans must show what's needed and where to end GBV, because each province and territory is unique. Ils doivent être alignés sur les principes.
They must be aligned with our agreed-upon principles, and once they are signed off, the funds will flow quickly.
Talks are going well. This summer, when I meet with my provincial and territorial counterparts, we're looking forward to a done deal. Merci. Je suis heureux de répondre.
Thank you, and I'd be happy to any questions from the members of the committee.
We'll be going around for our first round. Our first round is 6 minutes each, and we'll be starting online with Dominique Vienne. Dominique, you have the floor for 6 minutes.
Bonjour, Madame.
Good afternoon, Madam Minister, and good afternoon to all of you in the room. Madam Minister, thank you for your presentation. I'd like to go to something very specific. Last year, in the health budget, if I'm not mistaken, for 2022-2023, you gave $25 million to implement a national pilot project to set up a project for feminine hygiene products. This has now been enforced for 1 year. I think it's still being rolled out for next year. This is a lot of money. Can you give us an overview about what this pilot project was all about? And how is it being rolled out? How much money has been spent? Who's benefited from it? And have you transferred money to various organizations? So could you please paint a picture of what's gone on up until now with this $25 million? Thank you. Thank you for your question, Dominique.
Really good one. You're talking about the Menstrual Equity Fund, and yes, $25 million was ascribed to it. It is a pilot project. The parliamentary secretary, our parliamentary secretary, Jenna Sudds, and her team, our teams, have done tremendous, tremendous work on this. We as a federal government are leading in this area. The Minister of Labour, and this is a cohesive effort, has rolled out plans and to make sure that menstrual products are available in all federally regulated areas, businesses, organizations. And we've got to lead by example. This fund puts at the center of it those most vulnerable. I cannot tell you how many places I've gone to across this country where young people in particular, women who menstruate, those who menstruate, can't afford menstrual products. And there's a stigma around that. This is why this fund is so very important. There will be a national organization that will roll this out for us. We are in the midst right now of
Merci, Madame la Ministre. Vous parlez de...
Thank you, Madam Minister. You're talking about a program with respect to officials, but when I look at 2022, we want to make available to this program to needy programs. So we're talking about women and children who don't have the resources to purchase these products, these feminine products. So where are we in folding this out? I'm not talking about where we are from the official point of view, but where we are with the population.
Deputy Minister, because we're getting into the process here, Dominique, and I want to roll this out for you, okay?
Bonjour, merci pour la...
Good afternoon, and thank you for your question. As the minister said, this is a project that, as you mentioned, which is a national pilot project that we've been asked to implement. As you know, the 2022 budget was announced in April. This past summer, as the minister said, and the parliamentary secretary, we did a lot of research to understand best practices. The pilot project, well, the purpose is to help those who are most vulnerable. This is very important. And we're right now at the point where, as the minister said, we're going to be working with a national organization. We are looking for requests. So you will see over the next few weeks, you will get more news on how this program is being rolled out. Madam Minister, I'd like the minister's team to talk about this research that has been done, international research to understand best practices. Could we ask about how you chose this national organization who's going to look after this, and how much money up until now has been spent, and which organization will be responsible? Madam Chair, right now, as a result of consultations, we've identified several national organizations that would be interested in working with us on this pilot project. So, yes, $25 million. This is a substantial amount of money, but the program is of national scope, so it's important that we learn from this pilot project. So we're going to work with an organization that will help us. The choice of the organization has not yet been made. We are speaking to various organizations right now.
Madam Deputy, we're now going to pass the floor over. We have both Jenna Sutz and Sonia Sidhu for the next round. Jenna, I'm passing the floor to you. 6 minutes.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. So, Minister, last week, of course, in the House, we were discussing Bill C-311. And a week ago today, we also, of course, witnessed the March for Life here on Parliament Hill. You are on record multiple times and saying how important it is for women to have the right to choose, how important it is to access vital health care decisions are for women, and how we can't go back in time. We know collectively that we need to speak up when we see that these rights are threatened. So can you, but at the same time, there was, of course, talk about how Bill C-311 does not explicitly mention abortion. So can I ask you, from your perspective, to explain how the two are linked? And can you share why this issue sparked so much resolve in yourself?
Thank you so much for the question, Jenna.
Point of order, Madam Chair.
Michelle?
Listen, we have a great committee here. I really think we do. We've been really clear about where we sit. I do not think that this is fair to be opening up a waste of time when none of us want to talk about abortion. We want to hear about the programs that the minister has to offer, and I think this is not the political climate that we've built in this committee. I think we're very collaborative, and this feels very underhanded.
That perhaps, Ms. Ian, maybe we can stick. I understand the question on Bill C-311, but I do not believe it is in the scope of this committee. It will not be coming to this committee. It is a justice issue, and so I would ask that we continue. I know that there was funding announced last week. Perhaps that's something we can talk about. But trying to define a bill under this committee, I would question that and would say that it seems out of scope for the funding. There's no funding. You will not find it in the main estimates. I will carry on. Thank you.
And with respect to my colleagues, it was not intended, no disrespect to anyone. I'm simply raising an issue that I think is important to everyone. And I know it is important to the minister and the work that we do day in and day out. I'm happy to reposition that as suggested, Chair, and thank you for that. Because we know, just last week as well, Minister, that you were making an announcement in BC with respect to women's reproductive rights and health funding. So if you'd like to perhaps comment on your resolve around that. Thank you.
Thank you so much for the question. We indeed made these funding announcements, and what I'd like to briefly talk about here is the people behind the numbers that we see. One of those announcements is for a crisis line. Another looks at underfunded communities with regards to sexual health and reproductive rights. And the points that were made by those that attended were really to put forward the people behind the numbers and the case studies and all of these things. And something that stuck with me was that mothers have abortions too. And listen, I'm going to get a little bit personal, but it is important, and not getting into this whole debate, but I have to say it. I have an 11-year-old boy, and before I had him, I miscarried. And I was thinking about this last week because when that happened, I was given a choice. And that choice was pass this at home or go to the hospital and get a D&C. And I was thinking about it because when we look at this, it's not always about 14 or 15-year-old girls. It's about moms, too. And when I look at what's happening in the States, and I see that there are women that are going into septic shock because they can't go to a hospital before a certain period of time or get the treatment they need, I think that we need to talk about these things here, and I put myself up as an example. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you so much, Minister. I will turn it over to Sonia Sidhu.
Sonia, you have about a minute and a half.
Thank you, Jenna. Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you, Minister Ian, for your unwavering commitment to supporting women, girls, and gender diverse people in this country. Minister, on International Women's Day, my municipal colleagues at the City of Brampton unanimously passed a motion to implement mandatory gender-based analysis plus training for all senior staff using our federal tool. We both had the chance to attend the UN Commission on the Status of Women, where Canada is a world leader on gender equality, and GBA Plus is a leading international model. Can you please provide an update on the government's effort to promote the use of GBA Plus?
Thanks so much, Sonia. I know that your riding and my riding in Toronto Centre are a lot alike in that they are so diverse, and that's just it. Experience, your experience, my experience are not the same. And when we're dealing with refugees and newcomers, racialized people, Indigenous people, Black Canadians, gender diverse people, those experiences are all different. And that's where GBA Plus comes in, because it's disaggregated data. It's saying that we are not living in homogenous societies. We need to understand who people are, make sure that we have culturally appropriate things, and understand that experiences are different. Not one of us is the same, but we're stronger because we are this way. You are right. Canada is seen as a leader when it comes to GBA+.
Awesome. Thank you so much. We're now going to move it over to Audrey LaRouche. Audrey, 6 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Minister, thank you for coming here this afternoon. I have a lot of questions, so I'll ask you to answer as quickly as possible. I would like to talk about the problems for women, which are great. In your main estimates, you talked about setting up crisis lines throughout the country. You've consulted with 9 provinces and territories for $23 million. I Could you please, who didn't sign and why?
Thank you for the question. I will be in the Northwest Territories next week to sign with that province. Nunavut is the only other territory, but Nunavut is aligned with Ontario, and so that is being worked out. That is all. Oh, New Brunswick, yes, and New Brunswick. New Brunswick. And it's just a matter of working some things out as far as location. It will be signed soon enough.
Often, when we talk about what's going on in the provinces, one of the solutions is to transfer more money and health transfers to the provinces. And in Quebec, would be able to help all of our community organizations and work with the social services and health authorities. This will avoid duplication of work.
Sorry, can you repeat?
Could you please health transfers to help provinces and organizations? For instance, in Quebec, we work. Can I repeat the question, please?
Okay, I'm just trying to see if it's going in for French. It's all good? Are you able to hear your translation now, Adrian?
Pardon?
Can you hear? You can hear me? Excellent. Go back to your question.
Thank you. Madam Minister, I was simply asking you, their health transfers to Quebec. In Quebec, it's community organizations and shelters that are funded by social services and the health transfers. So is there any way to assist with this so that we don't duplicate the work? Thank you for your question.
Plan to end gender-based violence. And what that does is it brings together provinces and territories because those provinces and territories, including Quebec, know what they need. And so federally, we are working together with all provinces and territories, Quebec included. I have had fulsome conversations with Madame Perron to make sure that what Quebec needs, it gets. And that's why provinces are at the table.
Et je pense que vous vouliez parler de Madame.
You talked about Madame Biron, I believe, who is the... Yes, fine. This year, Madam Minister, we have seen $320 million in 2023, and so that's a dropping of 11%. How can you explain this decrease when we see that we have such great needs and we need to continue investing? I'd like to hear what you say about this decrease.
Répétez la question.
Please repeat the question. Where is it? We see a decrease of $323 million this year. So it's an 11% drop. Why is this occurring? And everybody here in the committees are saying that we need assistance and we need to continue with this funding. So we need to have an attractive budget. So what?
Grassroots organizations, is this what you're talking about? All around? Okay.
Il y a une coupure de votre budget.
So there's a 11% cut to your budget.
To take this question and also clear this up. $300 million in emergency funding is what we stepped up and brought to the table during the pandemic. That meant that shelters were able to keep their doors open. It meant that they were able to keep their lights on and, most importantly, serve the people that needed it most. We are at a point now, and we learned a lot then, that this isn't about Band-Aid solutions. We can't keep going from emergency to emergency and saying we're going to clog this hole, clog this hole, clog this hole. This is why we have a 10-year action plan to end gender-based violence. It's why provinces and territories are part of that plan. This is about long-term solutions. It is not about Band-Aid solutions. It is about looking at what we need, involving the provinces, making sure they're at the table, and holding them to account.
Mais quand même, il y a beaucoup d'organisations.
But a lot of organizations are suffering from this decrease of 11%. The needs remain, and we know that the pandemic has exacerbated these problems. You say that you're a feminist, but we need to contribute to better equality throughout the world. However, the federal government can't show how this assistance has given positive results. How can you explain the situation, Madam Minister? Because you have been working with your colleagues, particularly in global affairs, to ensure that the government is implementing follow-up and evaluation methods internationally.
As Yan, I am not saying that I'm feminist. I am feminist, and so is this government. So I'll just say that off the top. These are places that we have stepped up where provinces, frankly, should be, and that's not going to continue. We have to work together. Provinces and territories have to be engaged, and this is why a national action plan to end gender-based violence, and that word "end" means something, is in place. Those negotiations are happening right now. I look forward to meeting with my colleagues in PEI, PEI.
Thank you
in the
very
coming
much,
months.
Minister. We're now going to move over to Leah Gazan. Leah, 6 minutes.
Nice to see you, Minister.
Good to see you.
Yes. My first question pertains to charitable status. So in 2021, your government promised to remove charitable status from anti-choice organizations that provide false information about reproductive health. Why has nothing been done to date?
If you're talking about Canada Summer Jobs, is that what you're talking about? Just
Crisis
status?
pregnancy centers, for example, they still receive funding, and they provide false information about reproductive health services.
This is something that I will look into and take back.
Thank you very much. In terms of, I mean, I know that your government acknowledges the right to reproductive health services,
Absolutely.
including access to safe abortions. I certainly support upholding that right, but the reality is a right is only good as access. I'll give you examples. Alberta, Saskatchewan, Manitoba, and Ontario only provides abortion in urban centres. Depending on the province, you can access an abortion depending on the weeks of gestation. In New Brunswick, the province illegally refuses to pay for abortion services outside of hospital settings. And I'm wondering if there's any sort of will from your government to uphold the Canada Health Act and intervene in places and provinces that fail to ensure fair and equal access to abortion services and other reproductive health care services. I share this because, although there's a lot of talk about right to reproductive health services, a lot of people can't access it, including in, for example, remote northern communities in Manitoba. Yes. Thank you, Minister.
It's a great question, and thank you so much, Leah. And it really has everything to do with the announcements that we had last week. So the organizations that we fund, the crisis lines that I was talking about, people in rural communities where you're right, abortion services aren't always available, or in places like New Brunswick, or in rural Manitoba, they phone a number and they are given transportation, they are given advice, they are given everything that they need in order to get where they get. We continue to work on this. I know we're not there yet, but funding grassroots organizations that can provide the advice and the travel and the money that's necessary is what's happening right now and what's working very, very well.
So, I certainly don't oppose any advancement of rights, but I think, people should be able to access reproductive health services, including safe abortions, where they live and not have to travel across the country during a very traumatic time. And we know for many people it's a very traumatic experience. The federal housing advocate and the Women's National Housing and Homelessness Network called the current housing crisis a human rights crisis fueled by government failure, disproportionately impacting women and gender diverse, particularly Indigenous peoples. I know that the government put a specific investment, $150 million, including during the pandemic. what I've shared often in the House of Commons is we still have a pandemic, a crisis, an ongoing crisis of gender-based violence. That maybe the pandemic has shifted, but gender-based violence has in fact increased. I'm wondering if your government is exploring changing its decision and about removing the $150 million from shelter funding. We know this is going to cost lives. I know certainly in my riding, where gender-based violence, where some of the worst stories in the country are coming out, this money that was provided during the pandemic kept women and diverse gender people alive. Literally, people are panicking on the ground. Is there any hope that your government is going to reverse that decision?
Leah, you and I have done some great work together, and I think about Velma's house in Winnipeg Centre. When I first visited Velma's house, there were women sleeping under the porch. There were meals being churned out, and I don't know how, on a rickety stove. And I will never forget a woman named Swan who said to me, this house can't go. We need this place. It keeps us safe. And it was our government that stepped up and provided the funding needed for Velma's house to move into another facility. So here's what I'm saying about that with regards to shelters and shelter space. When I saw that, I asked for $500 million to support our National Action Plan to end gender-based violence and got it. I saw that and said, this can't continue. We need long-term, and we need to put teeth behind our National Action Plan, and got it.
Minister, I am grateful for that, and I know our community is. But we just had a woman, Linda Marie Beardy, who crawled in a garbage dumpster, and I mentioned her out of respect for her family and the community because she didn't have a safe place to go. And I know Velma's house was it was monumental. I'm not saying that. It was monumental. But housing has been so underfunded. I do agree with what they're saying, particularly the Women's National Housing and Homelessness Network, that this is a critical area and this is going to result in the loss of lives. So again, I'm urging you and your government to reverse that decision because I know that it will result in the cost of lives.
You got your 6 minutes. You're good.
I thought I had 30 minutes. Jeepers.
I know. Next time. I'll make sure you get another 2.5 coming very shortly. I'm now going to pass it over for our second round, and we're going to start it off with Michelle Frary, 5 minutes.
Thanks, Madam Chair. Thank you, Minister. So I guess I'm going to start with asking about wage. In 2015, wage had a headcount of 92. As of 2022, this number has increased by 324% to 390. So that's a 324% increase. However, the public service has grown by only 31%, which is smaller in comparison. So I'm just asking, why has wage seen its workforce increase this significantly, and what's its impact?
You speak to the workforce, I'll speak to the impact.
Wonderful. Thank you. Madam Chair, Women and Gender Equality, as you may know, became a full department in December 2018 through legislation. We also grew that number that you're talking about essentially in the pandemic when we received significant influx of funds, both for things like crisis lines, things like pandemic shelter support, and other significant investments from the government. All those investments require people to advance them. The National Action Plan on Gender-Based Violence is an example. The 2S LGBTQ plus Action Plan were significant lifts for the organization, and that explains the numbers going up the way that you see them.
Thanks. I'm wondering if it's possible to table to the committee just the breakdown of what that looks like. Could we get that information?
Sorry, could I just clarify the breakdown of?
So you just kind of gave generalizations, but I'm just wondering if we could see where the money is going for that employee increase, right? So it's such a significant one compared to the public service. So just where it is and what it's doing. Just a breakdown of what you said, basically. That's sure. Okay. So I'm also asking about the budget 2023 proposes across the board 3% spending cuts for government departments. So I'm asking, Minister, where do you think your 3% cut is going to be?
Again, Department Francis.
Thank you for the question, Madam Chair. As you will know, the expenditure review is being managed through the Treasury Board Secretariat. And at this time, really that organization is the organization that will determine how all of us will participate in the expenditure exercise. And so the question's best directed there.
I guess I'd ask, Minister, this is your file. This is tough, right? You got to decide who gets money, who doesn't, and everybody wants money. Is there anything you can see that would be easier to remove when you're going to be mandated to cut?
Not at this time. It's hard, Michelle, to deal with hypotheticals. We didn't see a pandemic coming. Mm-hmm. So we don't know what's around the corner. It's hard to answer that and here to answer all of your questions. But I wouldn't want to say yes or no to something because literally we don't know what's coming. We're not sure.
That's fair. So the mandate information for the Department of Women and Gender Equality is the mandate of Women and Gender Equality Canada, which is WAGE, is to advance equality with respect to sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity or expression through the inclusion of people of all genders, including women, in Canada's economic, social, and political life. We've heard so much testimony about youth mental health and, human trafficking and helping educate men, especially when we look at intimate partner violence. So under your mandate, when you say all genders, is there a specific amount of funding set aside to help educate our young men?
Thank you so much for this question. When I first, I'll say joined this ministry because we're very much a team, it is one of the first questions I asked about, men and boys. And I have had the honor of going to organizations like White Ribbon and others where that is the focus. Many Indigenous communities, I'm thinking of Nunavut in particular, that is the focus, but it really is a primary focus. It is part of our National Action Plan to end gender-based violence because it's about prevention. This isn't about being reactive, it's being proactive. And if we're going to do that, we have to fully engage men and boys.
Oh, okay. I don't think I can get much out in 20 seconds. Thanks.
Thanks very much. I'm now going to pass the floor over, and we have Anita and Sonia Sidhu. Again, I'm thinking I'm reading it different. Okay, so I'll pass the floor over to you. 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I do have a question, Minister, but before that, I do want to address what just happened here in the last round of questioning. My colleague opposite, Ms. Ferrari, interrupted my colleague, Ms. Suds, using the excuse of collegiality to silence her from asking a question that clearly mattered significantly to her, to a lot of women. And I don't think it's very collegial to use a point of order to interrupt one of us on this committee on something that we really, truly believe in. So I just want to get that on the record. I also think that defending a woman's right to choose is not politicizing. And Minister, I want to say to you that telling your story with a courageous way that you did that today, you helped a lot of women. So I want to thank you for doing that. And I did have a question, unrelated, but I feel like we have to make sure that when we are being collegial, it also means letting us talk about the things that matter to us, and to many, many, many women. So my question is about youth, and I want to draw your attention back to a really happy day when you came to my riding of Ottawa West Nepean and met with the Boys and Girls Club. And we know that these young people, the young people that we met there, but many across the country, are diverse, they are passionate, they care deeply about our community. They want to make the world better. And they are looking for the kind of skills that are going to get them better jobs, good quality jobs. And so I do want to ask you about the Canada Summer Jobs Program, which I understand right now, all around the entire country, especially my riding, the employers are hiring young people. And I just wonder if you could tell us a little bit more about the importance of the Canada Summer Jobs Program.
Thanks so much for the question, Anita. The Canada Summer Jobs Program is part of a suite of programs. It's the Youth Employment Skills Strategy. And there are several parts to it. So CSJ means this year 70,000 jobs will go out across this country. Many of them will be to high school students or even those that are just getting their footing back, and will be first-time jobs, memorable jobs, great experiences. Also part of that suite, though, that we have is work-integrated learning. And the Work-Integrated Learning Program offers internships. And what we know is that internships are so important, especially these days. When employers want to hire people, they will put forward everything in the power either to train that person, if they have that, if they have those tools, or they will look for people that have those tools already. And when you have those tools already, you're in great shape. You mentioned diversity, Anita, and that's really important because when it comes to these programs, we really do shine a light on those that are disabled, Black, Indigenous, racialized, 2S LGBTQI youth, and it's working. We see the numbers, and it's working. The Student Work Placement Program as well. The Canada Service Corps, which encourages volunteerism from our young people. And might I just mention, the last time that I was here, we talked about the age of young people. We talked about 15 to 29 being the definition for youth. And I said, that's way too late, because on my streets in Toronto Centre and many streets across this country, our kids are gone, or they're in places we don't want them to be by 15. We are now piloting in our Canada Service Corps 12 years of age. And we're doing that because of what happened here. So thankful for that. I often say that, forget about the leaders of tomorrow. It's about today. These kids are fearless. I was with a group of 2S LGBTQI youth in my riding yesterday because it was the International Day against transphobia, homophobia, biphobia. And it was a first annual summit. And from those young people, I got to hear, we feel like we're in a safe space for the first time. From teachers who brought their kids to that summit, who said, this wouldn't have happened a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago. From the young people who were taking leadership roles within their schools, who were standing up. They are not faint of heart, that is for sure.
Thanks so much. I'm now going to pass it over to Adrienne LaRoche. You have 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Minister, you talked about the summer job program, but in my writing, people are unsatisfactory. They're very annoyed about the budget cutbacks. Unfortunately, the pandemic may be almost over, but the problems experienced by organizations are not over, and they're very saddened about these cutbacks. That being said, you opened the door to the 2S LGBTQI youth. Is there any money set aside for seniors in the communities? Because I talked to people in the Emergence organization as part of the Transphobia Day. Yesterday was an important day, as you point out, and I want to be able to talk about the seniors in the 2S LGBTQ program. So what are you going to do to support the seniors in the 2S LGBTQI communities?
Thank you so much, Adrienne, for the question. There are a couple of questions there. First, it was CSJ, and then we got to seniors. So maybe I'll deal with the CSJ portion first. And merci pour la question.
Thank you for your question.
So I talked about recovery and I talked about post-pandemic. And so I like numbers, I like disaggregated data, and I wanted to look at some of those numbers. So when you look at 2019, Canada Summer Jobs had 70,000 jobs. During the pandemic, those jobs were increased because student, or I should say youth unemployment, was at a high of 30% in this country. As it stands right now, youth unemployment is at 9.8%. And so as we are on this road to recovery, we are now at 70,000 jobs. I will say that while we looked at 2019 pre-pandemic and those numbers, when I look at the numbers for 2023, there is an additional, I believe, $15 million on top of what we had in 2019. So each riding, including yours, Andrea, is actually getting more now than it did in 2019.
Thank you very much.
1% de moins, Madame la
I'm
Ministre.
going to
30%.
pass,
1% less, Madam.
I'm now going to pass it on to Leah Gazan. Leah, you have the floor for 2.5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. So, Minister, 2019, your government launched a new national strategy to combat human trafficking, a whole government approach that brings together federal efforts and was supported at the time with $57.22 million over 5 years and $10.28 million ongoing. How much, my question is how much it's been spent to date, because as I've brought up many times in the House, the government in 2020 put forth $724.1 million to deal with the crisis of murdered and missing Indigenous women and girls. 5% has been spent. And I know in my community, certainly at Winnipeg Centre, I'm people sitting on money while women are showing up deceased sometimes on a weekly basis in my community. So my question is, how much has this money been spent to date?
Thanks so much. Again, the numbers, and thank you for pointing to them, Leah. 63 organizations, and this is within women and gender equality. 63 organizations to implement projects designed to prevent and address human trafficking and support at-risk populations, victims, and survivors. 63 of them, okay? So there are 42 projects, 14 million as part of the Human Trafficking Initiative. Nearly half of them, so 45% of these programs, serve Indigenous people. So now to where the money is going. The Women's Center for Social Justice is receiving up to $550, we'll say I'm rounding it off, $1,000.
So can you just submit a list to the committee?
Absolutely, because what I did was I got disaggregated data, and so I've got a complete list as to what we're doing and where the money is going.
Yeah, so, 14 million.
Yes.
There's 57.22 million. I think this is what my concern is. It's kind of like Velma's house. When it happens, it's wonderful. But like when I'm talking about the 724.1 million, it's just not happening fast enough. And I just don't understand why, when we see the increases of gender-based violence at crisis levels, why it's not getting out the door quicker. So I'd like a list of projects. And also, if you could submit what percentage has been spent to date, that would be very helpful. Just a quick question on Canada. I don't have any
No, we're
time.
a little bit over.
I'm
okay,
so sorry.
So what we're going to do is the last round. We've got 2 questions. We've got Anna, and then we have Jenna and Anita. It's going to be 4 minutes each, so that 4 minutes and 4 minutes for the last round, okay? Oh, actually, sorry. Okay, whatever. So I'm going to pass it on to Anna Roberts for 4 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and thank you, Minister, for being here to help us understand what's going on. I have 2 parts to my questioning today, and I want to go back to the Summers Jobs program because my budget this year compared to last year was cut in half, and I have a lot of constituents that have been instructed that they've been declined for the Summers Job programs. A lot of these people that have been declined provide jobs for the youth that nurture them, get them off the streets, and help them to stay away from trouble and human trafficking and the rest of the craziness that goes on in this world. So a couple of my constituents are concerned because they've been informed that the applications are approved by the MPs. Can you set the record straight for us that that is not the case?
MP recommendations have everything to do with CSJ. So you get a list as an MP. I do this in Toronto Centre, and I go through that list, and I take ownership of the organizations on that list. And I say, yes, yes, no, yes. And that is what is, you know, one of the things that I like most about the program, because MPs know their ridings best.
Okay, so here's my question. So
Yes.
if their score is way down there, is it my decision to disagree with Service Canada and say, I want them bumped up?
Thank you for the question. So, in terms of how the scoring works, it's clear that when Service Canada has information sessions with MPs, they do go through the process of explaining what happens with the applications. The applications do have to be assessed. They have to be looked at by the Service Canada officials. And clearly, you know, it's a program that's massively oversubscribed, and it always has been. And that's why the MP input on which ones are going to make the most difference in the community is so critical. And so there would be many more applications that are eligible than could possibly be funded, and that happened before the pandemic, and it's going to continue to happen. So that's really how.
So if somebody scored, like, say, 36, could I recommend them to be bumped up and remove someone else? Because the reason I'm asking this question, and please help me understand this as a new MP, the reasoning that we were told by the director of our area is that we cannot move someone into the program if they've been declined with the low score. But my constituents have been told, well, we've contacted other MPs in the GTA, and they've told us that that's the opposite, that we can bump someone out and include the ones with the lower score. So I'm getting mixed messages, and I really need to understand this.
So, Madam Chair, what I'd suggest is that we deal with this specifically, because we're talking about very specific situations and conversations that we wouldn't have been involved in. Generally speaking, the MP's views are very much considered. If an organization has not met the general bar for being, for example, a safe workplace, a workplace where you would want to have a youth, then, you know, those kinds of decisions, you know, would have to be looked at carefully. So what I would suggest we could do is take it off with you and address it with your own constituency office, if that's okay.
Thank you very much. And that time is over. We're now going to pass it over to Sonia Sidhu on, what's that? You weren't finished, but you only had so much time. I'm so sorry, Anna. I'm now going to pass it to Sonia Sidhu online. Sonia, I know you're sharing your time with Jenna. 4 minutes.
So, Minister, I know you were very passionate about young girls, but how is our government working to increase economic security and opportunities for women and underrepresented groups in the workforce?
Thanks so much for the question, Sonia. I like to think that my riding of Toronto Centre is a good microcosm of the country. And I say this because during the pandemic, a lot of the people in my riding, and I'm thinking of St. Jamestown in particular, which is one of the densest neighborhoods in this country, and it happens to be where I come from as well, how most of the people there worked on the front lines of this pandemic. They did not stop. And many of them had kids at home. And it was really, really hard. To have $10 a day childcare, to have dental and rental benefits for a family, for a single mom to be able to take her child to the dentist is a big thing where I come from. To have a grocery benefit is a big thing where I come from. there are those that might say, what's a couple $100? What's $300? What's $400? Where I come from, the women in my community in particular can take $50 and they can make it go a long way. And so when it comes to women joining the workforce, when it comes to women being able to make decisions based not just on their family's needs, but on theirs to achieve their goals, childcare is huge. Again, dental is huge. There are stats that show a huge percentage, I believe it's 85% of women, an 85% increase of women that have returned to the workforce since childcare was introduced. That is not insignificant. That is huge because we know who the carers are predominantly. And what this means is that women and those who choose to work outside of the home can do so knowing that their kids are taken care of. That's huge.
Thank you, Minister. Over to Jenna.
Thank you. Minister, I just wanted to actually probe a little bit further on MP Kazan's question, because I know she's asked it a few times in the House, and I feel like we never have enough time to answer it. And I know you mentioned it was around the $150 million for funding for women's shelters. And, you know, I don't want to put words in anyone's mouth, but as you've acknowledged, of course, the National Action Plan, the timing of that is coinciding with the expiration of that funding. And so I wanted to give you the floor to give Leah a bit more of a time on that answer.
I appreciate that because Leah wanted 30 minutes, so we're gonna give you some more time, Leah. And I do want to set this straight because this really comes from a place of not just practicality but also empathy. I've visited transitional houses, shelter organizations in each province and territory in this country. I see the need. I understand the need. That $300 million was an emergency measure, and you are right. It went a long way. It saved lives.
Awesome.
But that was short term. And short term because we need to look at long term.
Minister, thank you very much. I know that there's much more to this discussion, but our time is actually up for the hour. So on behalf of all of the members of this committee, I would like to thank you. And I'm now going, so I'd like to thank all of you for coming. Thank you for Crystal being online as well to support the minister on her visit here. But I want to now turn it back to the committee and thank the witness, and I can say bye-bye to you, but we want to get on to the votes on main estimates. So does the committee wish to dispose of the main estimates 2022 or 23-24? And he said yes. Shall vote 1 under the Department for Women and Gender Equality, less the amount granted in interim supply, carry. Total for committee the committee examination is $44,382,561. All those in favor? All those opposed? It will pass. I kind of know where we are. Shall vote 5 under the Department for Women and Gender Equality, less the amount granted in interim supply, carry. The total for committee examination is $93,923,714.17. Shall that carry? All those in favor? Great, passed. I know where she's voting. I know her well enough that as she's off there. Yes. Shall I report the votes on the main estimates 2023-24 back to the House? Yes. And hey, we're good. We'll suspend now so that we can get the witnesses back on here for our second panel. We're going to make it as quickly as possible. So we're going to suspend for hopefully less than 2 minutes. Suspend. Both of our witnesses for today's study who are returning on the human trafficking study. I am just going to remind everybody that on this study, pursuant to 1082, that the adopted study on Tuesday, February 1st, the committee will resume its study on human trafficking of women and girls. I would like to make a few comments for the benefits of our witnesses. I do believe, Kelly and Kathy, that they've helped you, and she showed you your French and English and all of that good stuff and how to use that. I'm just going to remind everybody also not to put their earpiece close to the microphone. It's giving feedback to any of the translators, so that's important as well. And before I welcome our witnesses, I would like to provide this trigger warning. This is a difficult study, of course, and we will be discussing experiences related to abuse. If there's anything triggering to viewers, members, or staff with similar experiences, or you feel distrust, please advise the clerk and we can see how we can assist you. I would now like to welcome our witnesses for today. As an individual, we have Kathy Peters, an educator. From Courage for Freedom, we have Kelly Talon Franklin, the Chief Executive Director, and from the Disabled Women's Network of Canada, Bonnie Brayton, who is the Chief Executive Officer. You each will be provided 5 minutes for your opening statements, and Kathy, we'll begin with you. I pass the floor to you for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am a former inner-city high school teacher and private citizen raising awareness about human sex trafficking, sexual exploitation for the purpose of prostitution in order to stop it. Prostitution would not exist without trafficking. Prostitution would not exist without buyers. Prostitution everywhere in the world is unequal, unhealthy, unsafe, and unfair to women. Regarding any federal policy or law regarding women and girls, the question to ask, does this practice or industry make women more equal and advance the equality of women and girls, or does it set the equality of women and girls backwards? Since 2014, when PSEPA, the Protection of Communities and Exploited Persons Act, became federal law, I've been doing presentations to politicians, police, and the public. I just presented at the Canadian Sexual Exploitation Summit. The most notorious cases in Canada for human sex trafficking and sexual exploitation are from British Columbia. Amanda Todd, victim. Reza Mazami, trafficker, 23 years in jail, and Robert Picton, sex buyer and serial killer. BC is an example of PSEPA not enforced. And the result is sex buyers and sex traffickers act with impunity. British Columbia has become a magnet for criminals and organized crime. BC urban centers have become sex tourism destinations. Sex traffickers are targeting very young girls, 10 to 12 years of age. Dr. Jackie Linder, traumatologist from Alberta, states, human trafficking is one of the forms of trauma that when you really understand what people are going through and what is being done to them, it is true evil. Survivors tell me it is easy to get into the sex industry and very hard to get out. Former MP Joy Smith states, education is our greatest weapon. Her foundation operates the National Human Trafficking Education Center. In my brief, I described the current trends contributing to human sex trafficking, and I gave 10 recommendations to stop human trafficking and sexual exploitation. Please read my brief to the Federal Justice Committee, February 2022. PSEPA focuses on the source of the harm, the buyers of sex and the profiteers. The clear statement from Parliament was that girls and women are not for sale. They are full human beings with dignity and human rights. Repealing this law would be a disaster. With the longest border in the world, Canada would become America's brothel. Indigenous women and girls would be first casualties. The reason we have a growing problem with sexual exploitation today is because PSEPA was never consistently enforced across Canada. Police were not trained to enforce it. Attorney generals and justice systems had no training about it. There was no robust prevention education rollout campaign to explain it so Canadians do not know about it. The idea that sex work is completely contradicted by the preamble in PSEPA, the testimonies that you have heard, and my 40 years in prevention education. Men and boys are the key to end sexual exploitation and trafficking because they are the perpetrators and buyers of sex. They need to be taught that girls have value and worth, and that every woman and girl has a right to be free of violence. Please check out my website, beamazingcampaign.org. It is a one-stop shop on the issue, and my book is now finished, hot off the press, Child Sex Trafficking in Canada and How to Stop It. It has the resources and research to stop this in Canada. I have a book for each party, including the Bloc, and MP Andre, and I want to make sure you get a copy as well. Thank you very much.
Awesome. And I'm now going to pass the floor over to Kelly Franklin Talon. Kelly Talon Franklin. I'll just let you know I've known Kelly a while, so I just get her name mixed up all the time. So Kelly, it's for you.
As a survivor of human trafficking, I ask for your indulgence with accommodation if my brain stops to work and I stall. I want to first just say thank you, Madam Chair and members, for your hard and ongoing work. I'm going to outline my collective points at the beginning so that if I am not able to speak to them, you can reintroduce them to me in the form of questions where I may respond. My collective points are prevention and law enforcement are separate issues. National strategies require a national action plan or adoptive of an existing national referral mechanism as a right to safety and providing access. Intersectional issues include biases, discriminations, lack of agency, harms, and needs definition of terms and standards, including ageism in that collective. Legal reforms with witnesses, bail policy, sentencing, policing gaps, and inconsistency, and the need for coerced crime understanding and record impunities. Law enforcement focuses need to be extended to corrections, probation, and parole as both support and prevent and can provide reformation to this issue. Cross-border allowances for travel without harassment and stigma for survivors such as myself. Tri-governmental delivery and safety and child protection responsibilities as a matter of federal oversight and policy expectations in all activities. Matters of core issues such as risk mitigation, housing, a living wage, mental health, addiction, child services, labor, immigration, migration, refugee supports, access to basic needs for food, securities, education, jobs, and skills. This is what we call as survivors prevention. Reporting soft and complex data, gray data, and anecdotal data that can be verified and deemed as statistical both from survivors and underreporting provinces will support both the reporting and non-reporting. It's the number one underreported crime in Canada. Research biases and duplication. Instead, we should aim for trial projects that are pan-Canadian, that will be deliverable in capacity and shareable like a template. We need to learn to test drive and then have the funding ready and available to roll out. We can't call into crisis centers when we don't have somewhere to support somebody that's in a crisis. Issues of ownership and solution planning in agencies, industries, and stakeholders must include mental health and addiction awareness, including our understanding of sexual impulsive behaviors as part of the DSM of perpetrators. Community responsibility to work under and with strategies for survivors of human trafficking and sexual exploitation's futures to form an association. It needs to include the government, First Nations and Métis, public engagement interfaced with all at the table. With over 500 personal engagements to support survivors, some common threads and shared in my case notes are statistical and anecdotal. I use these to share those points above. This committee can confirm these surveyed lines. We cannot ignore or conflate the issue that there are victims of this crime. We, Courage for Freedom, have traveled across provinces and territories in Canada the USA, Costa Rica, and India, other global destinations that I cannot share, to support women and girls that are asking for support, not rescuing, but exiting the industry with opportunities, regardless of whether or not they're available to become witnesses. And pursuant to your standing order, I'm speaking directly to preventing trafficking and improving law enforcement capabilities and not conflating it with other issues today. Time on our streets, in courts, jails, probation homes, system supports, food banks, subsidized everywhere and everything, in addiction, incarceration areas, child sexual abuse areas, domestic violence, sexual assault, and in court and in homes. That was my life that I now share with the survivors that I support. Yet I came from a demographic with a father whose basketball friend was Ken Dryden, and my godfather was the honorary Gilbert Perron. My grandfather was Wilbert Talon, the chief of detectives in Welland. So please do not offer me that there's a specific demographic only that we need to serve by this committee. And I thank you that you're well aware of that. Recently, we shared public statements with allies of 180 different organizations that are aligned with what we are looking at, putting forward, and asking our government to take action on. We have addressed many of the things that have been brought forward in the meetings and presentations. We have been watching intently and reviewing every witness, every brief, because survivors need to be able to vet the information with and for you. As you've heard and read the breadth of the issues, it's one of the reasons that we often end up siloed and infighting about actions, resources, and approaches. We're overwhelmed in our work. The core causal issues are broad and more comprehensive than any resources we have ever had.
Kelly?
And it mirrors the same problems that I suffered under Kelly Momberquette, Amber Carey Potts at the hand of North Preston's finest in South Region Park.
Kelly, thank you so much. I know you have so much to offer this committee. We do have to get to Bonnie, who is going to be our next witness, so that we can get these questions on too. So if you don't, I'm going to pass it over to Bonnie for the next 5 minutes. And if there's additional information that we need to get to the committee, we can do that as well. I've got your talking points here. Bonnie, 5 minutes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Karen, thank you very much. Nice to see everybody. And I'm sorry I couldn't join you in person today. Girls, women, and gender diverse people with disabilities are vulnerabilized targets of human trafficking. I remind the committee that we sent and submitted a brief that I hope has been circulated by now, but if not, I'm sure will be soon, in terms of please make sure that you do take the time to review that and the recommendations, and of course we can speak to them today. Disability is the center of the cycle of violence, trauma, and re-victimization that many trafficking survivors experience. Women and girls with disabilities are more likely to experience childhood sexual violence. Childhood sexual violence is linked to re-victimization through the life course and has negative impacts, including mental health conditions, addictions, social exclusion, and poverty. In turn, these factors have been identified by Public Safety Canada as risk factors to human trafficking. One of the things I decided I would talk about today, instead of what I originally had in my speaking notes, is an important case that Dawn was consulted on by the Crown Attorney last year of Ontario. And the reason we were consulted by the Crown Attorney is because they had 5 people for whom they needed to prepare sentencing. And so they asked us to prepare something that's called a community impact statement, very similar to a victim impact statement, but in fact focusing on an entire community that is likely to be to be the victims of a specific type of crime. And in this case, I thought I would just share the facts, which is that in this instance, a father began sexually assaulting his daughter at the age of 4. As she grew, he began trafficking her to other men. And so by the time she was an adolescent, she had her father and 4 men trafficking her to other men. And so by the time that this stopped, this woman was 30 and had been sexually assaulted, in all likelihood, thousands of times. This is the form of trafficking that I think is the most egregious and something that I think is very important for the committee to consider. Notwithstanding that, of course, there are all kinds of other forms of trafficking that take place, including some you've heard about from other witnesses, including today. And of course, sexual trafficking is a huge and important problem. And if we want to think about the fact that 24% of all women in Canada live with a disability, if we add the lens of race. In terms of Indigenous and Black women, we're above 30%. And so we know that a huge number of women who live with disabilities are at other intersections. In terms of what we put in the community impact statement, I'll just quickly share a few things that I think are important. The victimization of women, girls, and gender diverse people with disabilities is indicative of the systemic factors. The sexual violence we experience occurs repetitively and frequently because of the precise fact that a woman is disabled. Involves multiple perpetrators, often individuals who are in positions of trust. Starts when we are young children and is compounded into adulthood. Is a spectrum of verbal and physical abuse to severe sexual attacks, is coercive and exploitative, and this is viewed as socially permissible because of our disabilities. It is often dismissed simply because the victims live with disability and our inherent dignity is discounted, and is rarely subject to serious denunciatory findings because we are treated as less credible. Disability scholars point out that women with mental disabilities are often taken advantage of when they are most vulnerable by people in positions of trust and authority and in places such as shelters or institutions. Often, sexual favors are traded for money, cigarettes, or some other form of reward. Much of this abuse is often chronic and often goes unreported, and in fact, 1 in 30 is reported, according to one study. This is often due to their reliance on others, including those that may be exploiting them. Women with intellectual disabilities and cognitive disabilities, including women with brain injuries, frequently acquired as a result of violence, experience staggering rates of sexual assault and are seen as easy targets. As was recognized in the Supreme Court case R versus DAI, perpetrators believe that disabled women are powerless to complain or will not be believed, or even if they do complain. Because of their precarious status and limited reach within their social networks, women and girls with disabilities are easily marginalized and their concerns delegitimized because of their disability and ingrained images of disability as lacking capacity. Women and girls with disabilities are at a high risk of violence due to social stereotypes that often serve to reduce their agency by infantilizing, dehumanizing, and isolating them. And it is no surprise then that since women with disabilities rely on caregivers to have their basic needs met, that they are particularly susceptible to being trafficked by those caregivers. Girls with disabilities are seen as ready and accessible prey, easily targeted, exploited, and manipulated by predators.
Kathy, Bonnie, thank you so much. Your 5 minutes are up. I got you right at the end of that one sentence. Thank you so much. What we're going to do now is we're going to switch to our round of questioning, and we will be starting off with 6 minutes. So I'm going to pass it over to Anna Roberts for the first 6 minutes. Anna, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, and thank you to all the witnesses. I'm very intrigued and I have a lot of questions. So I'm going to start by asking one question to all three. So I'll start with Kathy. Do you believe that the laws that are in place are steep enough to ensure that these perpetrators are kept behind bars for a long, long time so that they learn and they understand what they've done to society? Yes or no?
Good question. Yes, they're just not enforced.
They're not enforced, okay. And Kelly, what do you think?
I don't believe they're steep enough, given that the majority of them are pled out before they even get to court, and also in the witness statements. Excuse me, if anything's pled out, that witness has to go back and realign her statement and isn't allowed to talk about anything that's human trafficking, which is why our conviction rate is so low.
And can I also ask the same question to Bonnie about our laws?
Thank you yeah. And I'll say again, you heard me speaking about the community impact statement we created specifically for the judicial system. And that is because whether or not the laws are in place, over and over again, Dawn Canada has found itself at the Supreme Court speaking to judges because in the instances of women and girls with disabilities, we find that they are not believed as witnesses and that in many cases, the charges are not brought forward. So what I would say is before we even talk about the current laws, we have to reform the judicial system so that all people who come forward with complaints are believed.
The reason I'm asking this question is recently I found out that one of the missionaries from my community, which I'm saddened to say, has been sentenced to 30 years in jail in the U.S. for child pornography and extortion of underage girls. The investigation went on from June of 2014 till June of 2016. And the individual from the Ahmadiyya Mosque was arrested for using young girls, teenage girls from the ages of 12 to 17. And here was his statement. Facing decades in an American prison, Luma Rana will no doubt ask for a transfer back to Canada, where his tough sentences would be undoubtedly turned to dust. After all, if it was in Canada deal, he'd already be sprung out on time. That's the reason I'm bringing this to everybody's attention. Our laws do not fit the crime of these perpetrators. So that's my vent for the evening. I'm sorry. I just get very passionate because as a mother, and I have a daughter myself and a son, it would just throw me into a rage. The other question I want to ask is, we've heard from other witnesses that the job of sex work is a job, it's a choice. I don't believe that it is. Do you feel that they are being, is it not a form of conditioning? Like when in order to help these victims, do we not have to get them mental health help? We need to sit with them and uncondition what they've been conditioned to believe, that they're not worthy of anything else but selling their bodies. Would you agree with that statement?
I'm going to jump in and say absolutely. I did bring a German brothel menu. If anybody thinks that sex work is work, I mean, I'm happy to read it out loud. I give this to every MP, and most of them can't read through it. But if you think sex work is work, I've got a German brothel menu right here.
So I guess what I'm looking at is if we took the time to help these victims through their abuse and help them to understand that what they've been conditioned to believe, that they're not worthy, I think we could put them back into society. And one of the reasons I bring this up, Kelly, is I have met with, yes, exactly, and I have met with Tamia on many different occasions, and I have to tell you, I am so proud of you and her for being able to understand that you're more than worthy of this life. And so I want to applaud you for that. Because I, like Kathy said, do not believe that women need to degrade themselves by selling their bodies to earn money. We have the opportunities in Canada and the freedoms to get an education to become whatever we desire to do, whether it's a construction worker, a doctor, a lawyer, whatever, a politician. We have that opportunity in Canada. We don't need to do it and disgrace ourselves. So I want to applaud all of you for doing that. And Kelly?
Well,
don't give up.
I was going to say, did you want to hear from me as well?
Sure. Sorry, Bonnie. Go ahead.
So I would like to say that there's an important distinction between a sex worker and somebody who is trafficked. And that I know of, and in fact have friends who are women with disabilities who are sex workers, and that there is an important distinction. And that while it's difficult, and I understand why people want to just say it's a nice thing to just say it's all over here, it isn't that simple. And when it comes to your statement regarding people and choice, the highest unemployment rates in this country are women with disabilities. The highest rates of poverty are women with disabilities. There's lots of women in this country who don't have agency and choice and won't.
But Bonnie, sorry to interrupt because I don't have a lot of time, but I've also volunteered with young adults with disabilities for many, many years. And I will tell you, as it is our responsibility to make sure that we provide them with those services because they deserve our help.
Fantastic.
But they aren't being provided, madam.
Well, we have to change that.
Yes, I agree.
Thank you very much. Actually, I do have to pass it over. So I do know, Kelly, you want something to add, but Mark, I have to pass it over to Mark Stray for 6 minutes.
Merci, Madame la Présidente.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you to the three witnesses today for your testimony and the work that you do every day. My first question is for Bonnie Brayton. How are you doing, Bonnie? Yes, I'm fine. I worked for 10 years in Northern Ontario for the Hearing Society, and I dealt with violence against women with special needs. I worked with the with these programs with dealing with sign language and etc. So my first question to you, Bonnie, is as follows. There's not much research done. There's really, I appreciate your opinion today because we haven't heard about women with special needs. And then I know that you didn't have an opportunity to finish your brief in 5 minutes. Do you have any specific recommendations for us and where we should be focusing for this research, because it's extremely important. You talked about this 4-year-old who was abused and still being abused at 30 years of age.
That was from the last part of what I was going to say, because I think it helps to speak to this. The Canadian Centre to End Human Trafficking, for example, names isolation, poverty, homelessness, language barriers, i.e. communication barriers, and being unaware of your rights as risk factors for exploitation, whether it's labor trafficking or sex trafficking. This is applicable. Despite this, and despite the fact that they name people with disabilities one of the most at-risk groups, this organization doesn't report disability data in their reports. The federal government has not named people with disabilities in the trafficking space as a group that's at risk, despite the fact that, like I said, we tick all the boxes. And again, inside Indigenous communities and communities of color and all kinds of at-risk communities, again, if we just look at this realistically, 1/4 at least of those people, if they're women, live with a disability. And that's Statistics Canada. That's not my data. That's the government's data. And so, like I said, to not be naming us because it somehow is not there, it's simply footnoting a group that has to be named. And as I said, centered. Alors, je vous remercie. Je m'excuse, j'ai tombé en anglais.
Thank you. I spoke English because I'm more comfortable speaking in English because my notes were in English. But I'd just like to say that this is a point I'd like to raise. I'm the final witness. I'm the final witness. A lot from many perspectives, disabled women are not taken into account, even though we're the most vulnerable group. So thank you. Thank you, Bonnie, for your testimony. Thank you for the work that you do. I know I don't have much time.
Witnesses, thank you so much for being here and for caring. We heard from witnesses, they're developing parent kits, so the role of the parent. We've heard, we've had young girls, obviously, 12 to 16 years old in being trafficked or sex work, not really at sex exploitation. But we've also heard young boys, 15, 16, that were their pimps. So I wanted to kind of get some recommendations from both of you. What can we do to better educate and provide the necessary information, either to schools, the community, when we're targeting 12 to 18, 16 years old, and also the role of the parents?
Being quick because I'm going to talk fast. I think we really have to teach our young boys not to exploit. They are our only hope. And I'd really recommend the new movie that's out called Women Talking. It is really worth watching. And just a quote from Indigenous April Eve Weiberg with Stolen Sisters and Brothers Action Movement. She made the comment that the biggest challenge and the most important focus needs to be to change the heart and mind of the consumer who creates the demand. And she's an Indigenous leader from Alberta.
I think one of the most important things is to pose the questions to survivors or those that are currently and not just historically working with minors. I can tell you stories from today on my drive here. I can talk about yesterday, last week. I can talk about what's currently happening to young boys that are under-supported, that are being trafficked because they can't afford their transitional medication. And so pimps are taking advantage. This issue is so huge, and yet here we are again after 2014 saying that it needs to be treated as a unilateral issue, not lumped in with everything else, and you need to listen to survivors because they have the resolve and the trust of current people that are looking for agency, either to keep themselves safe within sex industry or to exit. And so, with all respect to everybody else that's done all the research, that's done all the talking, we are still at the same place.
Bonnie,
so I
do you have
encourage
anything to-
everybody on this panel to
Bonnie.
research and listen to survivors
Correct.
that are working in real time.
Thank you.
Our research is people.
Thank you so much. We're now going to move it over for the next 6 minutes to Adrienne LaRoche. Adrienne?
Thank you, Madam Chair. We have got to the end of our study. I've heard a lot of things. We heard from the minister earlier, and there was a question I wanted to ask the minister, and I'll instead ask you for your opinion on this question, because at this committee, we've seen that there's a lack of follow-up in the policies that have been put forward by the government. We're dealing with trafficking of women. The government has implemented many policies to put an end to trafficking since 2019. Various departments have been working, but perhaps not working together well enough to do this. It's difficult to believe that the policy is effective when there's no follow-up, because at the department, the whole issue of trafficking women and girls, well, 2 projects have came out. I believe $14 million has set aside. But how do you evaluate the results from these programs? How on the ground do you actually see the impact of these programs? I wanted to ask the minister this question, but I didn't have the time.
Marked impact. If you look at the province of Ontario, we have probably the strongest strategy that was dovetailed right after Project En Route at the hands of a 16-year-old survivor was created to wake up our community about what was happening and start the conversation about a corridor. And it was in our chair's riding. It was not funded. And we are still not funded because we don't fit in your box. But we are called on continuously to meet every gap. I have 6 open court files right now where I'm supporting not only the girls, the young boys, but also their families. Also, the police officers and those that are involved in this because of the vicarious trauma. So I'm tired of the money going to the big box stores that are set up to receive the dollars that don't know what the fuck they're doing.
Oui, Madame Brayton, j'aimerais...
Ms. Braid, I'd like to hear your perspective on disabled people who have more vulnerability. Right now in Quebec, we call disabled women, we call, there have been some shortcomings, and I think calling something a handicap is a better way of describing them. That being said, you're quite right. Yes, because there are all kinds of factors involved with that. So we talk about handicaps rather than disability in Quebec. So I'd like to talk about the investments that are being made. No investments are being made for disabled women, not one penny. We're not included in these 42 projects. We're not included in the grants. We aren't part of the groups that have been funded. We've not been asked for our expertise. So my response is it's not satisfactory, and the approach is not satisfactory because it excludes certain groups. And once again, it's the most vulnerable who are excluded. Thank you very much for your question.
You know that there continues to be gaps everywhere in all our responses, but I'm going to take us back to the fact that we do have a national strategy, and yet we do not have a national action plan. The first pillar in our strategy was to strike a survivor table. Where is our survivor table? Where are our voices leading this conversation? We continue to do the work. We are not funded. And we are conflated with every other issue in the sex industry. I am not somebody by way of agency that chose prostitution. I am not talking about whether that's an issue before your committee. That is a separate conversation. We want to prevent sex trafficking. And we want to prevent and supply support to be able to not only allow somebody to get a conviction, but I don't believe just convictions are the answer either. We have to understand the mental health, sexual impulsive behavior as it is addressed in mental health, and our community responsibility. There is an intersectionality between government and the public that we have to work together on this. So if this committee is addressing right now human trafficking, I believe if you look at some of my brief, and there will be a more robust document provided with lots of informational and research. We can't cherry pick which is the current and most popular thing we need to deal with within this issue. We have to look at it all. We have to table a national action plan that has oversight by cohorts that are established as your survivor table to give you guidance to get through this, so we're not here, when I'm in the ground dealing with this once again. And I just want to say that it might take subsecting and dividing some of the issues as you prioritize them to be able to manage the work. Because right now, the fight between labor trafficking, cyber trafficking, sex trafficking, child trafficking, there's no such thing. That's called child rape under our laws. But the division that happens between us, it's not going to help. So I implore you to work through this. We need a national action
Actually,
plan.
thank you very much. I've allowed it to go a little bit longer, and I know Adrian had another question. There's a few other things going on here, but I'm going to let Leah have her next 6 minutes. We're just going to try to do our best because I know this is a very passionate group here today with amazing information. It's all good.
I apologize.
It's all good, Kelly. We
Please don't
understand.
apologize for,
No.
for
Leah?
swearing. I swear frequently. I know it's shocking to the committee, but I do swear the F-bomber quite frequently.
So we'll give the F-bomber her 6 minutes now.
6 minutes. So I'm glad that you shared that. First of all, I want to acknowledge your space. A space of frustration. I feel that quite often in this place, especially from the community that I come. And that's actually what I've been really pushing in this committee is when you conflate sex work, sex trafficking, and child sexual exploitation, nobody is looked after. That this actually places people at risk, and it totally washes away story and place and experience. So I want to honor you for that, and I just think you said it better than I ever have, in fact, in this committee. I actually want to ask about one of your programs because I looked on your website. I want to ask about you use horses to heal trauma sessions. Can you talk briefly about it? Because then I want to ask another question, and I have questions for Bonnie as well.
So we actually started these programs because we had no responses actually in our chairs community to address this in 2018. And so we already had worked in the trauma area, seeing over 5,000 children and youth through our programs, and the hole in the bucket was getting bigger when it came to human trafficking. And so we went on a journey, visited Wounded Warriors out in the West Coast, got their protocols, did our research with Dr. Jackie Linder, and I have too many cohorts and colleagues to list. And they are the whole reason that we are successful with helping a survivor self-direct to find their own agency in order to make decisions about what they want to do to either exit or keep themselves safe. We don't empower anybody. We assess people through the horses because they're the number one trauma resolve. It's funny to get a girl that's been in inner city trafficking walk down the driveway of our barn, and she has nails and hair and says, "Ooh, they stink." and to watch the horses respond and tell her that she's safe enough in community, that they hold space, they help her ground. And even if it's for 2 minutes, we know from the psychology behind this that it allows her neural pathways to start to reconnect through frontal lobe and cerebral cortex, so that she will have the capacity to mitigate her own risk in the future.
Can you send more information about that to committee?
Tons.
I'm just so interested.
And you can look up Dr. Jackie Linder as well, because she also supports
just because
this.
I have limited time and I have important questions for you again, and I have a question for Bonnie. And picking up on what you said, you spoke about agency, and Madame Brampton. I want to read.
Just call me Bonnie, Leah.
Bonnie, I'll call you Bonnie. Okay, I'll call you Bonnie. So I'm going to read from your Parliament brief. You say multiple factors rooted in systemic ableism and other forms of oppression make girls, women, and gender diverse people with disabilities, especially those from historically marginalized groups, racialized, Indigenous, 2S, LGBTQ, and those living in poverty, more at risk. Because we talk about agency. But then in society, not everybody's given the same agency, and I would put ableism within that category, how members in the disability community, through an ableist lens, are not given agency. How does that impact on safety?
Wow. It's almost a redundant question, I think, even from your perspective, Leah, because that's exactly the point. In terms of agency, and in terms of a lot of the situations that put women with disabilities at risk regarding agency, I think that's important to understand. And again, right, a human rights framework is an equity framework, right? So it needs to understand that what each woman needs to be safe is different. You know, when I was speaking to your colleague from Quebec on the committee about the use of the word une femme en situation de handicap, I think it comes right back to that, really, to make the point, because the French word for a disabled woman is a woman who is disabled by her environment, essentially. And I really want to make that point, because ableism and systemic ableism, right, is about all the things we aren't giving to women and girls with disabilities for them to have agency. We live in an ableist society.
100%. So I have one last, and I'm going to ask to both of you. So we spoke about funding, and I've been pushing hard, like we have a national violence prevention strategy, funding not going out the door. And the most groups that are, I call it, made vulnerable by systems don't get the money. Your organization, in terms of survivor voice, survivor-led, that's something that came out of the national inquiry. You mentioned, Bonnie, about your group. How is the lack of funding impacting the safety of women and community? And I'll let you, and it'll have to be very quick, Madame Franklin and then Bonnie.
It means that sometimes we have to say no, and I don't. So sometimes I put myself at risk.
Like in terms of your
travel, accessing girls, making sure their needs are met when they can't fill out application or the funding is run out for something. I think the committee needs to take a look at how funding is allocated. If it's only through the law enforcement lens or through those victim lenses, then it's very difficult to deliver, because it doesn't go to the survivor. It actually is funded by the agency, and sometimes that money is being spent and the survivor doesn't even know it, and then is told there's no more money for their mental health.
Leah, with your permission, I'm taking your 2 minutes that you're cutting later, and I'm adding it to this 2 minutes, if that's okay.
You'll get 30 minutes. Okay, Bonnie?
Thank you. You guys are good. So a couple of things. I want to say something that I'm sure all of you are thinking about, which is, of course, one of the most important things that this government can do is pass the National Disability Benefit to lift as many women and girls as possible out of poverty. National Disability Benefit. Because when you're talking about funding and poverty and all of the things that lead us to a place where somebody becomes exploited, becomes trafficked, whether it's sex trafficking or labor trafficking, whatever type of trafficking it is about that same magic word, the agency word. But I was going to say, in terms of funding to address this from a disability or an intersectional perspective, it is absolutely about us starting to think again in terms of the National Action Plan, right? That there is a way we have to dismantle it, and it's not going to happen overnight. That we have to think about this across the life course, because we know that it starts with girls in the case of girls with disabilities. And so, like I said, in terms of the funding question, Leah, it's a complex one because it's a complex problem.
So I have a solution. I have a bill, Bill C-223, to put in place a guaranteed livable basic income. When we're talking about agency, I'll be ramping up my campaign, FYI. Do you think a guaranteed livable basic income is important if we're really going to deal with the issue of human trafficking head on? It's a yes and no answer. I'll say. Okay, so yes from Madame Franklin. Madame Peters, yes or no?
I'm going to say no.
No.
Because you need to deal with the demand, the sex buyers.
Okay. Okay, and
Bonnie.
or Bonnie, yes or no?
I'm going to say yes, and I'm not going to say it as a simple answer, but the answer would be yes. We need that first.
Thanks very much. We're now going to go on to our next round, and I'm going to start off with Michelle Ferrari. What I'm going to do, it's going to be 4 minutes, 4 minutes, 2 minutes for Adrian, and Leah, I've given you your extra minutes. So, Michelle, 4 minutes.
Thanks a lot, Madam Chair, and thanks a lot, ladies, for being here today and bringing your passion and your experience. This is, and a little bit of levity to laugh, right? Because this is just so heavy. It's just such a heavy topic, and I'm glad you brought up vicarious trauma because it's a very, very real thing. And nice to hear you speak about equine therapy. We have an amazing place in my riding of Peterborough called The Main Intent, and I had to experience it, and it is powerful. It is powerful when we look at holistic treatment methods and helping a lot of survivors work through their crises and getting back to who they were. This book, Kathy, is pretty great. You know, I've had the opportunity to read a lot of it actually in this short amount of time. It's a great read. It's succinct, and I like how you've done it. One of the things I'm really hyper focused on is youth and intervention and prevention. And I see you've touched on it in this book when we look at social media and helping parents understand and how to talk to our kids. And we've seen great success in some of the education programs. I know my youngest, I've talked about this before in grade 8 actually, is being educated. And through his education, it's helping that intervention. What can you share with the committee about your research and work in terms of the prevention end of things and social media? What do you think we need to do? In particular, I'm looking for a very specific ask if you think we should change the age of kids on social media.
Well, absolutely. I think the Surgeon General just came out from the U.S. saying that people shouldn't be on the platforms 15 years of age, because, I mean, he's got young children and he's very concerned. I am a prevention educator. That is the big piece that is missing countrywide. And as an educator, I mean, I've been working in this space for, I would say, 45 years. The last 10 years, really, it's almost turned into full time. And I even get flown into Indigenous communities to educate and to educate parents on how to keep their children safe. But I try to keep everything very simple. So I say 5 points. Let's raise awareness. That's big. Number 2, prevention, education, intervention, active collaboration. Let's all collaborate together, and then reduce the demand. I am very focused on the demand. I don't want to miss that piece. It is the buyers that are causing this problem and are that perpetuate sexual exploitation. And the number one question I ask when I'm presenting to a lot of high schools lately, a lot of high schoolers, the number one question they ask is, what is a healthy relationship? Yeah. They're hooked on pornography. They hate it. They know it's not what a healthy relationship is, but that's where they're going for their sex education. Yeah. So I talk about what love looks like, and they have no clue. I will get boys in particular saying, Mrs. Peters, we're hooked on porn. We don't know what a healthy relationship looks like. So that is really a key piece when I'm presenting to high schools. And with the Indigenous communities, it's similar. They're just not getting anything to counter the pornography. We've got such a hypersexualized, toxic environment online. And we really need education in that space. And I just met with Senator Mivelle Deschênes, and she's got the age verification in process for access to porn.
Yeah, it's a powerful bill. it's a difficult conversation, and I don't think I have the amount of time. Leah wants 30 minutes, and I want about 2 hours, to be honest with you, to do.
Also need to loop into your conversation the new sexy about AI, because that is the most concerning thing after being at the United Nations in March and working through this with UN Women. Ontario has a great strategy. There is education across the board for this, but not one single one of the 500 survivors that I've worked with who actually knew what this was able to keep themselves safe. So I believe in peer education and adult education concurrent to what my colleague Kathy is working on.
Perfect. Thank you so much. I know, sorry, you're done on that. Passing it over to Anita for 4 minutes.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I'd like to start with Ms. Brayton. There's some good news. We just got word that Bill C-22, the National Disability Benefit, passed the Senate today. So I know you mentioned that in your testimony, and I'm very pleased to have seen that just in the middle of this committee meeting that was posted. And I did want to say to Ms. Brayton that I am very happy that you are here speaking to this committee, because everything that you described about women and girls with disability, particularly those that are intersectional with disabilities, they really are invisible. And you're the first one specifically talking about that who's testifying before this committee. So I'm very pleased that you're here. And what I'd like to hear, because we know what the problems are, if I could give you a few minutes, but then I do have another question. But if you could tell us really quickly, what are the solutions? When we're doing our recommendations as a committee, what should we be recommending?
Well, I'm going to go to the recommendations that we wrote. Address the systemic barriers that make women and girls with disabilities and other groups more vulnerable to trafficking, isolation, social exclusion, discrimination, low income, poverty, housing, precarity, inadequate access, support services. Dismantle laws that perpetuate discriminatory law enforcement practices with Black, Indigenous, and other racial groups. Establish funding and partnership mechanisms that strengthen community capacity and that connect and sustain allies in their collective work to recognize, prevent, and address gender-based violence and trafficking. Integrate an intersectional approach to provincial, territorial, and federal inquiries. Of course, the National Action Plan is a perfect opportunity for us to really work on this with our provincial and territorial partners. Explicitly name women, girls, and gender diverse people with disabilities, especially those living with intellectual, invisible, or mental health conditions, as well as those who are racialized or Indigenous, as facing a higher risk of trafficking in human trafficking policies. Collect disaggregated data. Center disability and trafficking responsiveness and public education, as many survivors become disabled because of trafficking, and their disability makes them targets to being trafficked. Commit to an anti-racist, anti-colonial framework, an anti-ableist framework as well, I might add, and meaningful participation of the disability community of civil society, working with diverse women and girls with disabilities and our partners. Connect funding to appropriate, accessible, inclusive, affirming, and culturally sensitive, trauma-informed supports for survivors of GBV. And of course, based on what I talked about at the very beginning in terms of the case that I discussed, we're not always talking about trafficking for the reasons that many other women are trafficked. In the case of women and girls with disabilities who are vulnerable, this is simply somebody taking advantage of an individual and perpetuating that, and again, repeating it. And, you know, the idea that, as I said, this starts at childhood and is repeated and repeated. And again, we have 2 Supreme Court cases. That's not because there's only 2 cases. That's just because those are the only 2 cases that made it to the courts. So thank you so much, Anita. I really appreciate you giving me some time on the floor.
No, thank you so much. Those are very good recommendations. I know it's just a little bit of time left, but I want to ask Ms. Tellen Franklin. You mentioned 2 things that struck me. One was you've repeated the word bias a couple of times. If you could tell us what you mean, but also, and maybe this might have to be in writing to the committee because we're very short on time, but what the funding criteria should be, because I was very moved by what you said about the funding, not going to organizations like yours. How would we have to change the criteria in order for that to be solved? So I'll leave which parts to send in writing. But
I don't know which one.
You've got about 15
Congratulations.
about 15 seconds to respond here. So
I think we have to look at all the biases all the way around. They start with misogyny, patriarchy, and colonized thinking and how our system is set up to address this. And then we need to look at biases at all levels, from ageism to sexism to racism and all of those things in between. And we have to acknowledge them when we're going to come to the table. So I will write to this. There's a lot of information that's already out there that will help support the committee's research.
thank you so much. And for the final questions, 2 minutes to Adrienne LaRoche.
Thank you, Madam Chair. And thank you all for your testimony. Mrs. Peters, you talked about a book that I'll be able to consult with pleasure, but in your brief, you said that you recently went to an international summit, the Summit on Sexual Exploitation. I just found it. Did you retain anything that you would like from that conference that you would like to share with us now?
Hello, it stopped. The French stopped.
Oh.
The translation stopped, so I didn't hear the question.
Can you ask the question again?
commencer?
Go for it.
May I begin? Can I do it over? Yes? Ms. Peters, first of all, I see that you've written a book.
Translation. So if you want to check at the top, does it show O1 English?
Yep.
Okay. And volume's up here. Okay.
My earring's stuck. I was going to give you my headset.
So, Adrienne, if you could.
Adrienne, could you speak a little bit?
Oui, bonjour. Est-ce qu'on m'entend cette fois?
Good afternoon. Can you hear me now, Ms. Peters? Yes, you've got it now. Okay.
Go ahead.
You talked about your book. I will read it with pleasure. In your brief that you sent to the committee, you talked about the Canadian Summit on Sexual Exploitation. Did you retain anything from this summit that may be useful for us as a recommendation for our study?
That summit was absolutely wonderful, and I think that you introduced at the beginning of it, and thank you so much. I think the thing that stood out was Dr. Ingeborg Kraus. I would recommend everybody here look her up. She's the German psychotrauma therapist globally. She's the one that prints out the German brothel menu. She has started an organization called Scientists for a World Without Prostitution. Look at her research, and she's really addresses what's going on in Germany. And if you want to see what full decriminalization or legalization of prostitution looks like, just go to Germany. So I would say of anybody that I heard at the summit, her presentation was absolutely compelling. And she made the point that 1.2 million men buy sex per day in Germany. It's unbelievable. 250,000 to 400,000 women are prostituted in Germany. And then she compared it to Sweden, that has the same equality model of law that we have here in Canada. And there's less than 1,000 women that are prostituted. It is absolutely remarkable. So I would say that Dr. Kraus was exceptional.
Thank you so much. Your time is up. Sorry. You what?
Même avec le temps arrêté, Madame la Présidente.
Even with you stopping me the time?
Stopping the time. I'm sorry. On behalf of the committee, I would really like to thank Kathy, Bonnie, and Kelly for coming up and providing us such extraordinary testimony today. Before I let everybody go, we need to spend a little money. So everybody would have received a budget indicating about doing the money for the main estimates. The total budget was $1,000. I'm looking for approval and a vote to accept the budget so that we can do what we have done. It's acceptable. All those in favor? Great, fantastic. Seeing no other issues today, I would like to wish everybody a great holiday weekend, and I will see everybody in a week and a half from today. Take care.
Merci beaucoup. Thank you.